Hello, you legends. Every one of you, you gamers out there. This is your boy Dead Man. Sonny. Now, I have a couple friends who are having issues with their consoles, mainly PS4 standard and slims. Um Now I did make some videos a long time ago, a few years back, but they were kind of outdated because the camera quality was kind of horrible. I was using a crappy cell phone, and now I have much better stuff. Anyways, I wanted to talk about cleaning them and basically the intake and how a couple things work for a better understanding. Now, I know it don't look like much, but here is the shell, or the guts pretty much, to a ps4. I'm pretty sure it was a slim. I don't know where the top is to it. Anyways, the only thing is like the top and the bottom. Well, the bottom is on here, but the top is gone. Once you take the top off, this is what you're going to see. And there's usually a fan that sits right here, which is really easy to take out. But right here, you have your disk drive. Right here is your intake, and this is your fan, and here is your power supply in the very back. That big long thing right there. And the way it works, the PlayStation, is it has these little ribs right here. It actually works as an intake to bring air in, and in through here, through your power supply, and it pushes the air through there, like so, and then it pushes it out through the back. Now, I never really liked the way that they made the intake. I feel like it could have been much better on the PS4s. You know, they were always overheating, constantly overheating, sounding like jet engines, you know. My personal opinion, they should have put bigger fans in them. Anyways, so this is what it looks like when you take the casing off. Now, when you take the casing off, which is pretty easy, it mostly just snaps off. You can do it on all of them, and the pros, they snap right off. It might be one little screw in the back. That's about it. Pretty easy. Anyways, again, this is what you're going to see. Now, what you're going to want to do is first, you want to take out your power supply, which right here is a little cord from the power supply that's connected down here into the motherboard. You want to undo this. All right. Then it has these two prongs that sit down on this end. They're about that long, that connect into the motherboard. You kind of want to be gentle when you're pulling it up, you know. Be gentle with it. It'll come out, bam, like so. And there it is. Right here's where them two prongs attached to that I was telling you about just now. That's the power supply. Comes right out. See, that's where the air goes through. Pretty neat, huh? All right. Here is the two little prongs I was telling you about. They're about an inch long. You have to be very careful with those bad boys. If you break them, you're going to have some troubles. I mean, they can be like hot wired and soldered, you know, straight wired, but that's some other stuff that I wouldn't advise you to go into. Anyways. Now, underneath this, you want to, mine is already apart, so keep in mind, I don't have all the parts to it either. I'm not sure where they went. This is just a example machine that's been used for parts over time. If you want to take this part off, the whole thing will snap off from the bottom. Like so. Bam. But usually, there is another casing on here. It's a metal casing with about 3,000 little tiny screws, like so, you see everywhere. About 3,000 of them, little suckers. I think they're called T7s or 9s or 8s or something like that. They're special little screws you have to have, but I didn't use them. I just figured out a way to do it with a little tiny flathead screwdriver. You can do it with mini screwdrivers. You just have to know how to do it, and it's tricky. Anyways, right here is your hard drive. That's where your hard drive plugs into. Bam! And that bad boy also gets very hot, which is why on my PS4 Pro, I have a fan on the back of it that pulls air out of my hard drive area. It really helps. Since the shell is off of here, this is the motherboard. This is where the APU is, right under this little heatsink here. And this is the RAM chips. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 little RAM chips. And there's supposed to be little heat sinks on there. Anyways, your little thermal pads is what they're called. They're little thermal pads. You can actually put better ones on it. I would advise to do that, actually. Now, flip it back over. Here's another interesting part. See, mine, like I said, it just pulls apart, man. It does. It just pulls right apart. We can get to the sweet stuff here. There is the guts. Again, this is just the little shell that goes around it all with your disk drive in there and everything. There's a couple little wires right here that you will have to disconnect from the motherboard. They're ribbon cables. You want to be careful with those little suckers too. And then you'll have your Wi-Fi cable and your Bluetooth cable. These little things here. You have to be careful with them little suckers too. All right. Now, the fun part. This is what I like. The fan sits here. Intake goes in through this. This is what keeps the APU cool. It blows on this and it goes through it. You see the little holes in it. Because right there, again, is the APU, which keeps the cold air. So imagine this. The colder the air that's hitting this, which means the colder that it's going to keep this. That's what you want to keep cold, right? And these little things, the holes, can get plugged with dust after a while. That is what you want to keep clean. You have to keep that clean. If it's clogged with any dust, it will keep air from circulating through it, and it won't be good. And it's even going to keep air from going into your power supply. The power supply sits there, right? Air comes out into the power supply and out the back. So it's a full flow straight through there like that. You want to keep that clean. Now this right here. You want to take a little screwdriver. This is if you're going to repaste or do anything like that. Do one, undo one side at a time, a little Phillips head. Fun fact, little CPU is actually still good in this thing. It's still good. What happened to this one was lightning struck one year and it blew out the HDMI and it blew out the power supply, and I'm not sure what else it probably burned out, but I do know for a fact that the APU is still good. Comes right off. It's just a little thin piece of metal. And then you have this. You want to take that off. Now you see that. Actually, it might not be good. Interesting. I never noticed this. You see how dark it is? That means that has left an imprint, a burning imprint. That means, you know, it's definitely been used. It's got its use. And it's been pretty hot before, I would imagine. Interesting. So, there it is. Right under here is the brain of the gaming. This comes right off with a bunch more little screws. Once again, pull it straight back. Bam. There's the whole little, right here. That's the thermal paste that's left onto the thing. All right. There it is. That's what it looks like. That's the thermal paste on it, though. It's gonna use a little. I would not use a screwdriver like I'm doing so. I'm just gently touching it to see how old the stuff is. Barely glazing it, because if you leave a single scratch on top of this, it will definitely screw things up. It's actually still kind of good. Anyways, yeah. If you're gonna repaste this, take a little bit of rubbing alcohol onto a what are them little things with the cotton balls on the ends? I can't think of the names. It's on the tip of my tongue. Q-tip. There we go, a Q-tip. A little bit of rubbing alcohol on a Q-tip and gently rub it all off. Now, when you reapply it, you want to put about, can I use for an example here? Here we go. Here's a tack, right? Here's a little tack. You want to use about, maybe that ain't the best example. All right, the size of maybe a sweet pea. The size of a pea. That's how much you want to dab right on the middle. Just a little round ball, the size of a pea, and put it right in the middle there. Ba-bam. Make sure it's all cleaned up nice, you know. And you put it back together, clean all the dust from around everything, you know. That's if you're taking it apart, I assume that's what you're probably doing, is cleaning it or repasting the APU. Now, many would advise that if you do take it apart, to make sure that you do not lose these little pads that come on these little RAM chips right here. Very important. They help keep them cool. Or you can just order some and put better ones in it. That's what I would advise you to do, is definitely put better ones. I took my Pro apart and I put really good ones in it, like some computer ones. For a GPU, I put them inside of mine. So mine are really good in my Pro. And I have pretty good thermal paste and all that, you know, the extra glittery stuff. You know what I mean? Yep. You legends. Anyways. These nuts. Now, back to what I was saying. And that's basically it, man. Now what you want to do is you just want to put it back together. When you put this back on here, you have to be very, very careful, because right here, some grooves, you have to match the HDMI plugins and everything in with this, like that, and gently, you want to have this set back down in there. You don't want to put too much force, because if you scratch and ding up your APU, it's going to be really bad. And then that's pretty much it, man. You know, that's honestly it. All right? You want to put it back together exactly how it was. Ugh. All right. Remember, again, to make sure you clean these. What I would do is get it some duster, a can of duster, and blow this out with duster while it's taken apart. I wouldn't advise really doing it, just opening the top off one day and I wouldn't really, advise it, because duster, it has, CO2 and stuff, so it can freeze. Like if you was to spray it on your finger, say, and hold it there for a minute, it will probably give you frostbite. It's very possible. So you don't want to do that to a little tiny component in here and, freeze it to death like, the T-1000 in Terminator. I mean, he could handle it, but the PS4 cannot, I promise you. All right? Although, that would be a good cooling solution, wouldn't it? Nah, never mind. All right, yep. I don't want to put ideas in anybody's head. Now, I am no professional. I do not work for no type of... I'm not associated with Sony. None of that. And I would advise that if you do have a warranty on your console, the minute you take it apart, your warranty will be voided and they will not fix it. So keep that in caution and keep that in mind. All right. And then you want to put your power supply this exactly all back in the way that you pulled it apart. But obviously you want to put the shell back on it. You know what I'm saying? All right. Well, I hope this is better than the old one that I made. I know it. I'm sorry it's already taken apart. I don't know where the screws are. I don't know where the other parts are, but I tried, man. I tried. This is for a couple of my friends, but I hope it helps many others out there. It's not real hard to do. The hardest part about it is taking all the freaking screws out, man. If you can get past all the screws, then you're good. You're good. Anyways, game on, my friends, my legends, everybody out there. Keep your consoles nice and clean. You want to do this, I would say at least every 6 months, man. I would take mine apart and completely clean it all the way. Keep them as good as you can. And by the way, do not forget all the little pieces that go back on the APU and perhaps the heat sink maybe. Yeah, that might be advisable. Yeah, so I would not do what I did and not put it back on. Or you will probably, burn out your console after a few minutes of turning it on. Or it may not even turn on at that point. So, yeah, don't follow my lead. Just, I did. I showed you what to do, just clean it out, put the new thermal paste on, put the pads on, and wada bing, bada bam, 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 put it back together and throw Elden Ring up on the screen and enjoy. Anyways, yes. Thank you guys. I hope this helps you. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments, man. And drop a like for your boy Deadman here. You legends. And one more thing. These nuts. Goodbye. You have been disconnected. Thank you. Come again.